Good evening. Thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shereen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Global tech giants surpass earning expectations amidst layoffs. Microsoft's net income rises 9%, driven by artificial intelligence. Alphabet delivers on top line and bottom line after missing estimates for the last 4 quarters. Google Cloud turns in a profit for the first time. Maruti Suzuki reports a 20% revenue growth in Q4, even as it misses street expectations, announces capacity addition of 1 million units through internal accruals. This will almost double its capacity at its Gurugram and Manesar plants. UK's competition watchdog blocks Microsoft's $69 billion acquisition of video game publisher Activision Blizzard. The regulator says the deal raises concerns in the nascent cloud gaming market. Microsoft says it plans to appeal. Demand for rural jobs for guaranteed 100 days under the government's flagship scheme has seen a sharp drop in FY23. Government officials tell CNBC-TV18 that a drop in rural job demand under the NREGS points to a steady revival in economic growth. The Union Cabinet has approved the medical devices policy. It aims to increase India's share in the global medical device market from the current 1.5% to more than 10% within a decade. 48 drugs failed quality tests conducted by India's drug regulator in March. The list includes commonly used medicines like calcium, vitamins, anti-diabetics and antibiotics. Nearly 1,500 samples were tested, and the failure rate was at 3%. 5 months on, and the Competition Commission of India still has no permanent chairperson. Sources say the government is actively considering over 30 candidates for the post of chairperson. A decision is likely to be taken soon. That's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. The government opens its arguments on day 5 of the same-sex marriage hearings, requests the Supreme Court to leave the matter to Parliament and stop the hearings. The Solicitor General says the government is not making a value judgment, but the issue must be left to lawmakers. The National Commission for Protection of Child's Rights issues a notice to Mondelez after a video claimed Bournvita has high sugar content. Asked the company to withdraw misleading ads, packaging and labels. Mondelez gets a week to submit a detailed explanation. With 2 weeks to go for elections, the battle for Karnataka heats up. UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath touts the scrapping of reservation for Muslims. Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi accuses the state BJP government of looting the people. 5-time Chief Minister of Punjab and Shiromani Akali Dal Patriarch Prakash Singh Badal passes away at 95. Prime Minister Modi and leaders across the political spectrum pay their respects in Chandigarh. Well, let's go straight to the day's trading action. The Lal Street ending in the green, even as global markets saw a sell-off. The Nifty managed to hold on to 17,800 today after a range-bound session. Financials relatively outperformed, HDFC Bank being the biggest contributor. Mid-caps also rose in line with the benchmarks. In the currency market, the rupee rising to a 1-month high against the US dollar. It ended the day at 81.75 against the greenback. The global market sell-off and geopolitical concerns weighing on the dollar. But the big story this evening, global tech giants are betting earnings expectations amidst layoffs across the sector. Let's start with Google's parent company, Alphabet. Now, after missing estimates for 4 straight quarters, Alphabet has delivered. Revenue was at nearly $70 billion. Advertising revenue was more than $54 billion. Revenue from YouTube was nearly $7 billion. Google's cloud business has also reported a profit. This is for the first time. Google announced a $70 billion share buyback. Google CEO Sundar Pichai spoke about the growth opportunity from artificial intelligence in the earnings call with investors. Take a look.
Significant multi-year efforts underway to create savings, such as improving machine utilization and finding more scalable and efficient ways to train and serve machine learning models. We are making our data centers more efficient, redistributing workloads and equipment where servers aren't being fully used. This is important work as we continue to significantly invest in infrastructure to drive our many AI opportunities.
Well, that's Sundar Pichai. And staying with tech earnings, Microsoft also beating expectations. Net income rose 9% to more than $18 billion. Revenue increased 7% to around $52 billion. This growth was largely driven by the artificial intelligence business. Revenue from the company's cloud business segment slowed to 27% from 31% in the previous quarter. However, the figure was higher than what analysts had expected. Now, in a major setback for Microsoft, Britain's competition watchdog has blocked the company's mega $69 billion acquisition of video game publisher Activision Blizzard. The regulator has said that the deal raises concerns in the nascent cloud gaming market. Microsoft has said it will appeal. Steve Kovac joins us now with Becky Quick to explain what this means for Microsoft.
They were always considered the one that would reject the deal. But several weeks ago, they kind of basically dropped half their case.
Yeah, right.
And so now they are hinging on this idea of cloud gaming, that if Microsoft is allowed to buy this company and they put games like Call of Duty on there, it gives them an unfair advantage in this cloud gaming world that they see growing. Now, this is unproven. I think you subscribe to this Xbox service. And it's kind of unproven. It's not perfect yet. But the idea is it's like the Netflix of games, where you pay a monthly subscription instead of having a disc or downloading the game, you stream it to whatever device. Very small market right now, big cloud play for Microsoft. That's kind of why they want to buy this company.
Regulator there blocking the deal, they say to protect innovation and choice in cloud gaming. And then there's Microsoft's Brad Smith also putting out a response to the decision, saying, we remain fully committed to this acquisition and will appeal. The CMA's decision rejects a pragmatic path to address competition concerns and discourages technology innovation and investment in the UK. We've already signed contracts to make Activision Blizzard's popular games available on 150 million more devices, and we remain committed to reinforcing these agreements through regulatory remedies. We are especially disappointed that after lengthy negotiations, I believe they went on to say, that this was the decision that came out.
Becky and Steve there discussing the latest development, the UK competition regulator blocking the Microsoft deal for Activision Blizzard. American aircraft manufacturer Boeing has upped its guidance, saying it plans to raise its production target for the 737 MAX planes from 31 to 38 in a month. This comes days after the company said the deliveries of this particular aircraft will be delayed due to a manufacturing issue. The company expects to deliver up to 450 737 planes this year. Boeing has narrowed its losses in the first quarter to $425 million, much lower than the $1.2 billion loss it reported in the same quarter last year. The company's sales jumped 28% year-on-year, backed by strong aircraft demand worldwide, and that boosted revenue in the commercial airplane unit, up 60% to $6.7 billion. Here's Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun on the company's plans.
The worst part of the notice of defect that we got is the timing. It hits them right in the center of their summer schedules at their busiest moment. And when we have to defer deliveries through that period of time, it costs some real money. So apologies to everyone. We're working very closely with them. And I think most of what we've had to deal with has already shown up in their scheduling changes. With respect to our annual deliveries, when we gave our guidance, we didn't just assume the supply chain was 100% better on day one. Quite the opposite. We knew we would have to contend with issues over the course of the year. They're getting smaller, they're getting more contained, but that's what happened in this case. So we still believe we're within that guidance. We are clearly going to defer some things from the second quarter and a little bit of the third quarter into the fourth. But on balance, we think we're in pretty good shape to make that guidance.
Well, that is Boeing's CEO. But the big earnings back home, Maruti Suzuki reporting a 20% rise in revenue, a 45% rise in profit. But even this was lower than the street expectations. Maruti has announced fresh capacity addition of 1 million units, and this will nearly double its capacity at Gurugram and Manesar. Those are the areas for its plant. Sonia joins us now to decode Maruti's numbers for us. Sonia.
Well, thanks a lot for that. So Maruti's numbers were strong, but they were slightly below what the street was estimating. The positives in the numbers is that the margins have improved for the third consecutive quarter, and the margins for the company have gone up 130 basis points year-on-year at 10.4%. Also, the company has decided to raise its capacity by up to 1 million units, financed by internal accruals, and this is in order to meet additional demand that is coming through, including demand from the export markets. Overall, if you look at the numbers, not too bad. A revenue growth of almost 20% is what the company has clocked in at 32,048 crores. The EBITDA has gone up 38%, while the margins have improved to 10.4% versus 9.1%. The profits are up about 42.6%, coming in at 2,623 odd crores. If you look at the trend over the past many months, you'll notice that the margins are now at the highest level that we've seen in the last many quarters. That's purely because A, the supply side constraints have eased, B, the company has has taken price hikes, commodity costs have gone down as well, and the product mix has improved, aiding the operational performance for Maruti.
Besides Kharkhoda, where the potential for production is about 1 million units, besides, even if we utilize that potential fully, we will still need more vehicles for meeting both the export and the domestic demands by the end of the year. The board today, in principle, approved that Maruti should put up to 1 million additional capacity.
That's R.C. Bhargav of Maruti. Now, official data from the government suggests that the rural employment under the NREGS scheme has seen a sharp drop in the last fiscal when compared to the previous year's numbers. The number of rural households availing the scheme in FY23 stood at a little over 6 crore versus over 7 crore households in FY22. Government officials believe the downward trend is in fact a sign of steady economic revival. Sapna joins us now with the key highlights. Sapna, this is good news for the government and also indicates that there is strength in the rural economy.
Well, the latest Manrega data clearly indicates that progressively the employment levels under the scheme has been coming off from the highs, especially as compared to the pandemic years of FY21 and FY22. And government is pretty all right with this trend. Government is indicating that this probably indicates that the level of distress in the rural economy has come down. So it's a good sign, actually. So very quickly, if you look at the number of households which have been employed, FY23 the numbers are much lower than what they were in FY22 and FY21. Similarly, the number of individuals who avail employment under Manrega, that is also off from its highs. I think less than 9 crore individuals opted for Manrega in the financial year gone by, as compared to 11 crore plus in the peak pandemic year of FY21, and also FY22 more than 10 crore people had availed employment under Manrega. Similarly, in terms of the number of households opting for the entire 100 days of employment, that has also come off. Government officials say that it's the households which are in abject poverty which avail this entire 100-day period in terms of their jobs. So that number is also off its highs, 39% lower in FY23 and 50% lower as compared to FY21. So all in all, government is pretty all right with this kind of data. It's saying that probably the level of distress in the rural economy is much lower now than what it was 2 to 3 years ago.
Sapna, many thanks for joining us. Now, the Competition Commission of India is set to finalise a new chairperson soon. Sources have told us that the chairperson appointment committee has conducted interviews of 30 candidates. Its report has been sent to the Corporate Affairs Ministry for further approval. That is a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. Shares of all 7 listed Gujarat PSUs rallied in trade after the state government announced a mandatory dividend distribution policy for public sector units. The government has directed these companies to declare minimum dividend of 30% of profit after tax or 5% of net worth. Whichever is higher, there could, however, be hiccups in the execution. The Reliance Capital resolution saga continues. The second round of auction is concluded, and sources say the Hinduja Group is the only bidder that participated. All other parties, including Torrent, Oaktree and the Piramal Consortium, have not participated in the bidding process. Lenders had set a base price of 9,500 crore rupees with 8,000 crore rupees upfront cash. We learned the Hinduja Group's bid, offered at 9,650 crore rupees upfront, is likely to be announced as the highest bidder. The Union Cabinet has approved the medical devices policy, aiming to increase India's share in the global medical device market from the current 1.5% to more than 10% within a decade. Parikshit standing by with the details. Parikshit, we did report that this was what the government was likely to clear, and the Cabinet has cleared it. Take us through the contours of the medical device policy that's been given the nod.
Well, the Department of Pharmaceuticals in the government had circulated a draft note in 2022, and now this has received cabinet approval. Why is this important? Well, the centre expects medical device sector to grow from $11 billion currently to $50 billion by 2025. What does the policy really intend to do? For the moment, this is a statement of intent, and there is no financial outlay as such, but it does lay a framework for enabling policy. The policy envisages India to become home to 25 high-end futuristic technologies in medtech and a medtech industry of $100 to $300 billion size with 10 to 12% global market share over the next few years. The policy talks about the need for fiscal support, continued fiscal support through PLI schemes, increased focus on R&D and infrastructure development. As per the policy, India could have a few national institutes of medical devices and education and research. The government is keen to promote manufacturing of implants, IVD reagents, surgical instruments, electronic equipments and consumables. The policy also talks about using FTAs as an instrument to increase medical device exports from India.
All right, Parikshit, appreciate you joining us. That is the decision that's been taken by the Cabinet this evening. Now, the drug quality test results were out earlier today. This is for the month of March, questioning India's drug manufacturing processes. 48 drugs have failed quality tests conducted by the country's drug regulator in the month of March. Nearly 1,500 samples were tested by the CDSCO, bringing the failure rate to over 3%. The list included commonly used medicines like calcium, folic acid, multivitamins, antibiotics, anti-diabetic and cardiovascular drugs. Top-selling medicines such as the epilepsy drug gabapentin, hypertension drug telmisartan, anti-diabetes drug combination glimepiride, and metformin and HIV drug ritonavir are part of the drug alert. Time for us to head into a break, but coming up next, the government opens its arguments on day 5 of the same-sex marriage hearings, requests the Supreme Court to leave the matter to Parliament and stop hearings. That and more when we get back. A quick look at the national headlines. 10 policemen of the District Reserve Guard and a driver killed in an improvised explosive device blast in Chhattisgarh's Dantewada. The blast was allegedly carried out by Maoists and left a big crater that covers the roads. With the DRG team was returning from an anti-Maoist operation when the attack took place. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Adityanath campaigned in Karnataka's Mandya with 2 weeks to go for the state polls. He said that a double-engined government would ensure both security and prosperity, accusing the Congress of only providing lip service on issues of agriculture and farmers' welfare. Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra also held roadshows in Karnataka's Chitradurg, urging people to vote for the party ahead of the day's campaign. She had breakfast at an iconic restaurant in Mysuru and even took a shot at making dosas. The Supreme Court has issued a notice to Delhi police and the government on wrestlers' plea for an FIR against Wrestling Federation of India President Brij Bhushan Singh over sexual harassment allegations. The court termed the allegations serious in nature and said the matter requires consideration of the court. In global news, countries scramble to evacuate their citizens as fighting rages on in Sudan. Sources say around 500 Indians have been brought back overnight. The government and rescue teams are focusing on getting Indians out of Khartoum and bringing them to Port Sudan, where 2 IAF aircraft and 1 Navy ship are stationed. The Supreme Court continues to hear the same-sex marriage petitions for day 5. The government opened its arguments requesting that the issue must first go to Parliament. It said the apex court is not equipped to contemplate all conceivable scenarios. Ashpit Kumar reports on what transpired in court and the government's position that was taken.
Well, the petitioners concluded their arguments today, and in fact, one counsel, Arundhati Kadju, ended by saying that we seek the blessings. Same-sex couples are seeking the blessings of the centre, just as the same as they would grant their blessings to heterosexual couples. However, from the initial position that the centre appears to have taken before the apex court, no such blessings are coming their way. The Solicitor General began his arguments today. There appears to be a tactical shift as far as the centre's arguments are concerned. They're no longer going into whether it's an urban elitist phenomena or whether it is something that is alien to the Indian culture. Now they're approaching this strictly on a legal footing. The Solicitor General argued that this is an issue which historically needs to be addressed by the legislature, that there could be the finest of judges deciding on the matter, but it still may not reflect the will of the people. That this is an issue which again spans various genders, various sexualities, social as well as legal rights, and therefore it is only for the Parliament that is competent to in fact gauge all these possible scenarios, draft a law, secure expert advice, and then come out with a piece of legislation that addresses the issue. The courts is what the Solicitor General said is simply, number one, not competent and ill-advised in dealing with this matter. Not just that, the Solicitor General looked at the historical background to the Special Marriages Act, said that it is not that the Indian Parliament in the 50s was unaware of the concept of the LGBTQ community, but rather consciously took a decision to avoid naming them and providing for them in the SMA or the Special Marriage Act, and that is something that cannot be undone by the apex court. So this was the broad summary of the submissions being made by the Solicitor General. But today was just day 1 of the government submissions. Tomorrow is when the hearing will resume before the apex court, and the Solicitor General is expected to continue making his position before the top court.
Well, Ashmit there reporting on what transpired in court today. The National Commission for Protection of Child's Rights has issued a notice to Mondelez over the high content of sugar in Bournvita. The Commission has asked the company to review and withdraw what it says are misleading ads and a packaging label that is in association with Bournvita. Shilpa joins us now with the details. Shilpa, take us through what the Commission has told Mondelez, and is there a response from the company yet?
Well, there is no response from Mondelez yet, but the NCPCR, which is the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, has written to Mondelez, where in a notice it has said that Bournvita promotes itself as a health powder or a power drink, and it says that consumption of that promotes child's growth and development. So NCPCR has said that it has been brought to its notice through a complaint that this is the way that Bournvita has been promoting itself, and that the fact that Bournvita contains high sugar content and contents which may be harmful to the health of children. The Commission has observed that Bournvita is misleading customers through its product packaging, through its labeling and its advertisements, and it has asked them to withdraw these. It has said that it fails to acknowledge the correct information regarding the contents of the product, or it does not issue any warnings about the high content of sugar on the packaging or that the side effects that could have on children. And it has now asked Bournvita to withdraw all of these, and it has also directed Mondelez to also issue or send a detailed explanation or a report apprising the Commission of the matter within 7 days of receipt of this particular notice. And this notice was sent on the 21st of April. Now, Bournvita or Mondelez has not commented on this, but let me give you a gist of what the controversy is. A social media influencer, Rehmat Himmat Singhal, a couple of weeks ago had put out a video claiming that the high sugar content in Bournvita makes it unhealthy for children. He called out the health claims by Bournvita. This video garnered about 12 million views, but he had to take down the video after he received a legal notice. But while the video was taken down, the entire debate went on social media for weeks, where everyone raised questions over the health benefits of these small paste drinks. And Bournvita at the time told CNBC-TV18 that its formulation is scientifically crafted by nutritionists and food scientists, that all its claims are verified, and that every serve of 20 grams of Bournvita has 7.5 grams of sugar, which it says is much less than the daily recommended intakes of sugar limit for children. Now, there are no official such limits prescribed in India, but doctors generally recommend about 24 grams of sugar for a child per day. Well, this issue continues to go on. The debate still rages on, in fact, on social media. But for now, we have to see how Bournvita or Mondelez responds to this, but no official comment from the company yet. Back to you.
Shilpa, many thanks for joining us. Veteran banker KV Kamath says he's proud of the Indian banking system, adding he's sure that a First Republic kind of crisis will not happen in India. Speaking with me, Kamath added that the US banking crisis indicates flaws in risk management practices of both regulators and banks. Take a look.
But, you know, on what is happening with global banks at this point in time, a jaw-dropping number, a $100 billion deposit plunge for First Republic Bank. You know, what do you make of this?
It indicates that, again, vast holes in the risk management practices by both regulators there and the banks themselves. You know, when this happened, I went into the balance sheet of that particular bank, and what struck me was I read it 3 times. I went into the P&L. The P&L has got a profit, nice profit, and the NPAs are in basis points, not even percentage points. You come to the balance sheet, item number 2 is you know, held to maturity instruments. Within brackets, the valuation is given. The value is shown as almost 100, and within brackets, current value is shown as 84. So I said, am I reading right? And previous year it was 97 or something like that. So where has this, what has happened? Then it struck me that this is where the hole is, and it's not accounted for. It is just a line item. So if this is how you are looking at risk, then obviously I'm sure there are lessons which have been learned. I do not know how other regulators in other domains look at it, but this is not so in India. So I can be proud of what is in India. This sort of a thing can never happen in India.
Well, you can catch the entire conversation with KV Kamath at 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. And that's it then on this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. The news continues here on CNBC-TV18.